Hello everyone, my name is Alex Ostrowski and you're listening to the Stagger Stance podcast where I give my Stagger stance on anything and everything stand-up paddleboarding as well as personal and lifestyle. I'm on a roll with that intro, guys. I have an intro and everything. Now I just gotta kind of find music to go to it. But that's something for future Alex to worry about. Present Alex could not care less about the fact that she doesn't have music at the beginning and at the end of her podcast episodes. Today I thought we would dive in a little bit about my past as a paddler and how I really came to be, my story, if you will. This episode is 100% not scripted. I don't even have an outline, so I am going to be fully winging this episode. Oh God, you know you're an athlete whenever you walk or move your body in the morning, it's just cracking. You just crack everywhere. Also, we have a really special guest here. This episode, we have my rainbows, the wall rainbows in the morning, especially during the summer, because depending on where the sun is, I have I have something on my window that when the sun hits it, it'll reflect rainbows onto wherever the sun is hitting. So I have a full wall of rainbows during the morning, every morning during the summer. And it is so fun and I love it so much. I come home from the gym and I see it and I'm like, oh, there they are, the rainbows. It just makes me very happy. Okay, so we're going to get started. My paddle history, how I started, where I started, all the above. So ever since we moved here, my parents bought they bought a paddle board. We had an Oz board. We had two Oz boards actually. And so there are a few photos and videos of me being really little, paddling and just trying to stay on that board. And then I remember in 2016, I started in 2016. I remember in 2016, I was at my friend's house and they have a view of the ocean. And the view of the ocean, while we were looking at the ocean, we could see the paddling team go paddling. And they had very neon green shirts. So they were obviously easy to pick out. And we were seeing them paddling and our parents were like, hey, would you guys want to try to do that? Would you guys want to try to be a part of the program? Would you guys want to be a part of the team? And that team was the Silita Junior Sub team. And we were like, yeah, sure. And so my brother, my friend, and I, we all joined our first class, and it was just for it to be an extracurricular activity. We never really planned on, going as far as we ended up going. I remember the very first class, we paddled over to the Punta Sayulita docks, and where we got to jump off the dock and everything, and it was very fun. Unfortunately, we don't do that anymore just because they get mad, and also the dock is non-existent now. So that was the first lesson, and I remember we would go twice a week and we'd just paddle and we'd have fun. I remember they had special blue and green striped boards to grab the attention of right? Because when you have a lot of kids on the ocean, people can get lost. People can blend into the water. So they had jerseys and boards that were very obvious. That was them. I remember, how wide were those boards? I'd say they were probably 25, 26, maybe 24. I have no idea. But I remember when I first started paddling, I could not stand on those boards. I could not stand on it. My balance was really bad. So I ended up using an all-around board for a big part of the beginning of my paddling. And I actually used an all-around board for my very first race. What the Junior Sub team did was that they created a lot of internal races so that the kids could kind of be just in the competition scene, or just kind of get a feel of what a competition would be like. And so the people that would run the Junior Sub team, it was Shelby and it was Bicho Jimenez. And Bicho Jimenez, the year prior, 2015, won second place in the ISA World Championships for long distance. So my coach was a world champion pretty much. He got the silver. So I got a really good baseline of knowledge and understanding of the sport right when I went in there, right when I started paddling. But anyways, yeah, we did a lot of internal competitions, a lot of internal races. It was mainly technical races, and then every once in a while we do sprint and distance. And I remember the very first internal race that I did, I used an all-around board, and I remember the very first turn I got pushed off from the course. I missed the buoy, and I don't know why I did this. I waited for everyone to pass the buoy for me to then turn around and continue. So I definitely was not. I was a very passive paddler, on top of the fact that I was using an all-around board. But on that race, I managed to climb up to 6th place. And I remember my friend got first and I got 6th, and I was like so sad. I was like, we started paddling together, like we started the first day, and how did they get first and I got 6th? So bit by bit, we would kind of like keep on just paddling and doing things, and we do a lot of internal competitions, and I think that was really nice because when we ended up like actually competing, we were already kind of aware of how it would feel, the adrenaline rush. We would be constantly put in that mentality, so it was a lot easier for when we actually did race, like in like actual competitions. For a very long time, I never got first. It was always me up against my friend and another one of my friends, and we would always get first, second, and third. It would always like go back and forth, but I remember for like the first maybe 2 years, I never got first. It was always third or second. I never got first. And then I remember the very first time that I did get first. It was crazy. It was awesome. It was just like all of the effort that I was putting into. The mentality is just like you constantly see yourself getting third, second. So it's like I kept on trying so hard to reach that first place position. And by that time I had switched to an actual board, the ones that they had, the blue and green striped ones. I don't exactly remember when I got first on that race for the very first time, but around the same time was also when we went to our very first international competition, and that was, I started paddling in 2016, and we went to our first international competition in 2017, and that was the Pacific Paddle Games, the PPG, in Dana Point, California. And I remember that we had absolutely no idea what we were doing. We had no idea. We had never really been in a competition that big, and I don't know. It was crazy. And I remember the beginning, there was like a welcome party, I think. I remember that during that welcome party, we got to meet a ton of paddlers that we looked up to. We got to meet, oh god, I have to like make the list. Got to meet Candace Appleby, Izzy Gomez, Fiona Wilde, Sony, Mo Freitas, Connor Baxter. We met so many paddlers there, and we were all just like, oh my god, because like I went up there with a team, with our team. We were considered the elite team of the junior sub team. We were like, oh my god, all these paddlers, we knew that prior that year Mo Freitas had won. I don't know if it was that year or the year prior, 2016, but Mo Freitas had won first place against Connor by like milliseconds. I remember they took like 30 minutes to figure out who actually won. I think it was the tech race. So we were like, oh my god, Mo Freitas, like Connor Baxter, Fiona Wilde. Actually, I don't think I knew who Fiona Wilde was at the time, but I did know who Candace was, and I did know who Izzy was, and it was just so fun seeing all these people. We also saw Casper back when he was really big in like the international scene, all those things. It was very fun. But then again, we had no idea what we were doing at that race. We kind of just, oh god. Oh, also, we were told that kids our age, the race was going to be 5 kilometers. So leading up to the race that we were paddling, we were training for 5 kilometers. And then day of, they announced that we would be paddling 10 kilometers. And that was like so shocking for all of us because we had only been training for 5 kilometers. I don't think any one of us had actually paddled like 10K. So we were all just like super nervous. We all did really good. I remember that my feet were like so tired during the race that I actually sat down to continue paddling. And I know that is illegal, but how old was I? I was 12, okay? Cut me some slack. I started paddling when I was 11, by the way. So anyways, that was like our first international competition experience, and we ended up actually going to the PPG again the next year. On our first PPG race, I got 14th in the technical race, so it was far back, but I also wasn't really worried about it. We didn't go there to win. We just went there to experience new things and try our best. After that race, everyone that went to that race, or the elite team, we kind of like established like a newfound goal or motivation or drive for the sport. So the next year we were paddling all the time. We were very determined. And so when we went to the PPG again in 2018, I think almost all of us placed. In 2017, like I said, I got 14th place in the technical, and in 2018, I got 2nd place in the technical. I was going to get first. I was in first place, but on the way in, I fell on a wave, and it was Kitsy Nipper that beat me, unfortunately. But that was a really, really good race, and it was awesome, and that was kind of like establishing us more in the international field, and also kind of like getting us a little bit more known, a little bit more recognized, because people knew Bicho, but they also wanted to see what was coming out of his paddling team. So that was 2018. And then in 2019, obviously PBG was no longer a thing. But my brother and I, like our family, we went to 2 really big competitions. We went to the Carolina Cup and we went to the Gorge. We both of them we went for the very first time. For the Carolina Cup, I decided to do the 13 miler, the 22 kilometer one. I did it on a 12.6 at 13 years of age. Oh my god. I still can't believe that I did that and I felt okay doing that. I had never paddled that much before. The most I had ever paddled before that was probably maybe a 12 kilometer, and then here I am paddling 22 kilometers, 21 kilometers. I don't know how you would establish it exactly. I don't know how much it is. I'll just say 22 kilometers because it sounds cooler. But yeah, at 13, I did the Carolina Cup. I did the graveyard race on a 12.6 and with no prior training, honestly. And I was not worried about my placings at all, but turns out that I got 3rd in the under 17 category, which was pretty cool. It was very surprising. I remember after the race, I just completely passed out. And then my parents woke me up and was like, Alex, you gotta go to the awards. And I was like, oh, okay. And then they're like, oh, you got 3rd. I'm like, oh my God, oh my goodness. Also, I remember that Carolina Cup, I was so nervous that I did not eat anything in the morning. Everything that I was eating, I was just throwing back up because I was so nervous. And my parents were getting mad at me. They were like, Alex, you have to eat. If you're not gonna eat, you might as well not race. And I'm like, I literally can't keep anything down, okay? Give me a break. And then the Gorge Paddle Challenge of 2019, the very first time that we went down there, it was with our boards, 12.6s, and my brother and I, we had no guide or anything. We kind of just went to Viento, and our parents just dropped us off, and we paddled down all the way to where the race usually is. Whenever we tell people that story, they were like, are you kidding? You seriously just went down by yourself for the very first time? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I was fine. I was chill. I almost missed the beach because I didn't exactly know what it looked like. So I had to almost paddle sidewind, upwind. But yeah, that was we were totally, it was fine. We were just yeah, we paddled it on our own when one of the craziest days that I've ever paddled on that river. And also my brother, he legally needed to have a life vest, and we didn't know that, so he did that run without a life vest. We had PFDs, but my brother was supposed to have a life vest and we didn't have one. So that was kind of the first few years of my paddling journey. And then obviously COVID happened, so there was a big break. And then in 2021, that was when I was invited to the Jalisco State Championships. I live in Nayarit, so it was just a special invitation. We weren't really assigned to any federation at the time, but we were invited to the Jalisco State Championships, and that was when I really grabbed the attention of Mexico, if that makes sense. Not all of Mexico, but I grabbed the attention of important people because no one had heard of me. It was after COVID, or it was after that COVID break of 2020, and then all the races that we were doing prior to that were in Sayulita or in the United States. So not that many people knew of me. Yeah, that was the race that kind of established me, that that kind of like grabbed people's attention, and so from then on I was signed on to the Jalisco Federation, and we really signed on to the Jalisco Federation mainly because Nayarit had never recruited us. They were always talking about how they needed paddlers, and yet they never recruited my brother and I. And so when Jalisco offered us a chance to be a part of the federation and compete on a national level and possibly international level, we took the opportunity, and it's working out, definitely. There's times where I wish I was part of the Nayarit Federation just because I live there. I don't live in Jalisco, but the amount of opportunity that the Jalisco Federation has given me, has been able to give me, and like the support, the Nayarit Federation couldn't have given me any of it. So with me signing on to the federation, signing on to the Jalisco Federation, I was then invited to compete in the Mexican Junior Olympics. And I love saying Mexican Junior Olympics, even though they've changed the name. It's not really that anymore, but it's fun. Because I remember when my dad sat me down, he was like, hey, like, I want to talk about a few races that are coming up that you could possibly participate in. And he said one of them was the Mexican Junior Olympics. And I'm like, oh my God, the Olympics? So that was fun. Now it's just CONADE. It's called CONADE, Los Juegos Nacionales CONADE, the National CONADE Games. I ended up going to this competition and paddling for Jalisco, and again, that was another big, huge stepping stone for me because that was what got me recognized on a national level. It was kind of like how no one really knew who I was, and then all of a sudden here I am winning this competition and getting the same times that the men were getting in their categories. So I was definitely like, all of a sudden there was this güerita, like, who is she? Like, what is she doing? Like, it definitely grabbed a lot of attention for me. And bit by bit, I started establishing myself more in Mexico and in the paddling world. That was in 2021. And then in 2022, I did the same race, and I won again. The first year was in Oaxaca, and then the second year was in Cabo Baja Sur. And even then, like, people knew who I was, and so when I went to that race, a lot of the paddlers were like, oh, that's Alex. Later in the year, I did nationals, and I won nationals in the open category, and then that it keeps on like solidifying who I was and my skill level and just like my determination. And also just like in general, a lot of people started looking up to me in a way of like, oh, this is Alex, she's a really good paddler. That's the person, that's the type of skill level that you want to start reaching for. And that also kind of created a little bit of pressure on me, like, oh, I'm being looked up to a lot. Like, what if I mess up? What if I don't win? But I've definitely gotten better at that. Like the little whole like mental game, it's gotten a lot better. Also in 2021, I was recruited for the SIC Maui Youth Development Team, which was amazing. It was like a dream come true because I had been paddling an SIC board since 2018, and then in 2021 I was recruited, and then I was officially on the team in 2022, and then I was recruited for the Black Project team, international team, in 2022 as well. And here I am now. Bit by bit, I was able to create a name for myself, and even in the international field, a lot of people now know me and my brother, like the Ostrowskis. Our name has kind of, when it comes to races in the United States, has been solidified, like Alex Ostrowski. You know what's funny is that in the United States it's Alex Ostrowski, but here for a really good chunk of time, I was known as Alex Wynn, because a lot of people could not pronounce my name or spell it, but they could pronounce and spell my middle name, which is Wynn. So I was known as Alex Wynn for a long time. And every once in a while, I still am referred to that. When there's judges that do know my last name, do know how to pronounce my last name, I'm known as Alex Ostrowski. But when it comes to races where the judges don't really know me, I am Alex Wynn, and I think that's funny. I almost want to have, like, you know how like a lot of people have like their nicknames, you know, like Kristen Anderson has Polar Bear and like Dan Miller has Sup Doc and everything. I think it would be really fun for me to be known as Alex Wynn. It's not really a nickname. It sounds a lot cooler. I don't know if it sounds, I feel like, I don't know if Alex Ostrowski sounds cooler or Alex Wynn sounds cooler, but I feel like Alex Wynn almost sounds like a sci-fi, like fantasy name, like the main character name, if that makes sense. Like, oh, Alex Wynn. It's like, it's different. It definitely sounds like a name that someone just like came up with for the name of their character. So yeah, I think that is it. I really hope this was organized enough for it to make sense, because again, like I said, I did not have a script. I did not have an outline for this episode. I just kind of rambled, and I probably forgot a few things, but honestly, I feel like I'm satisfied enough with the amount of information that I gave. This wasn't a super in-depth episode, but I've been wanting to talk about it. It's crazy how paddling kind of started as an extracurricular and now it has developed into a passion, like a committed sport for me. It's really fun. And everyone has their own little beginnings, and I wanted to share mine. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and make sure to rate the podcast. And I will catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.